Hey guys, I'm Chris Norwood and I'm on a journey to hear every song ever recorded, so that's what this channel is all about. Please like and subscribe. Today's video is going to be ranking the studio albums by Boston band Boston. And let's just jump right into it. They have numerous albums. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever fingers you do for 6. However many fingers represent 6. Got 6 studio albums, and this one's going to be an interesting ranking the studio albums video because I feel pretty strongly about these albums. Not all of them positive either. So we're going to be starting with the worst, working our way up to the best. Coming in at the bottom, the worst, it's going to be Life, Love, and Hope. This album brought me none of these things. This was a disaster. I remember when this came out, me and my dad went to see Boston a few years, maybe a couple years before this came out. And they were such a great band, such a great band. I think around 2008 or so is when I saw them in concert, somewhere in there. And they were excellent. But this album, I don't know what in the world they were thinking. There's so many people involved in the making of this record. There's not a clear band. It's just like a jumbled up mess of garbage. And I'm looking at the track listing. There's just nothing good here. Nothing good at all. This is train wreck. Tom Scholz is doing some of this essentially solo, but they have like stuff that Brad Delp did before he died, and it's just awful. It's just, I'm not sure what went wrong, but just everything about this album sounds bad. Just sounds very chopped up, very pasted together. You can almost tell that they were just trying to salvage bits and pieces of songs that maybe didn't need to be recorded ever. So, Life, Love, and Hope. Unfortunately, we haven't heard any new studio albums from this band in the last, 7, 8 years. But, hopefully, maybe in the 20s, maybe we'll get a better Boston album, because that one was really freaking bad. And speaking of late era Boston records that were bad, the next one coming in next is going to be the one before this, Corporate America. Let me take a look and see what this 2002 nightmare of an album had to offer. Actually, this one, in keeping with the theme of the video, of course, this one is better than Life, Love, and Hope. I Had a Good Time is a nice way to kick things off. And then maybe there's a couple of other tracks towards the end of the record that maybe kind of scratch my musical itch a little bit. But come on, man. Life, Love, and Hope and Corporate America, both of these albums can go in the trash bin, in my opinion. And I'm not, it's just my opinion. I love Boston as a band. Like I said, they were an amazing concert experience. I would go see them again. But they have a very fluid lineup at this point. It's essentially the guitar player, reworking a rotating cast of characters out for the main vocalist even is not really like a filled-in position. It's just a bunch of different people, rotating from this instrument to that instrument. And that's a really cool way to do a band. I feel like they did succeed in keeping the band alive after the passing of a key member. So I do applaud them for that. I feel like they've done what they can with what they have. Tom is a very creative individual, and he's keeping the band afloat. Let's get into some. We're still at the bottom of the barrel, people. This is still not good, and unfortunately, it's all these late era Boston records. This is Walk On from '94, and did not like this one at all. Brad Delp was not on this one, although he did assist with the writing for this record. Let's see. Get Organized, Get Reorganized. Walk On some more. And Magdalene was a single. It's had some meh moments. Had a lot of bad moments. A lot of bad moments. Definitely not enjoying this at all. Wow, this is crazy. Oh man, this is going to be the second time in history on my channel that this has happened. We'll get to this. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But Boston, it looks like Boston is going to have something in common with the lead singer of System of a Down. We'll get into that in just a second as we get to the top of the list. Wow, this is crazy. So coming in next is going to be Third Stage. Have you figured it out yet? Have you figured out what's happening here with this ranking the studio albums yet? Oh boy. So this one, now we're into the good stuff. Now I'm going to be a Boston fan, okay? With Third Stage coming out when I was 1 year old in 1986. This is a good record. Amanda, We're Ready, The Launch, Cool Engines, and some other, there's 10 tracks here, and they all kind of have what you really want to hear from a Boston record. Not as good as some of the prior material, but Third Stage is a really fun listen, and I wouldn't have a problem cranking the whole thing up. I can't believe this. Cannot believe that this is the order that they're going in. So, coming in next is the second studio album by Boston, Don't Look Back. Oh man, this one I just know it. So, Don't Look Back, The Journey, It's Easy, A Man I'll Never Be. Are you feeling satisfied? Party! Used to Bad News and Don't Be Afraid. They played a lot of this album on the concert that me and my dad saw them at. And man, I went and downloaded all these. This is epic. I absolutely... I'm looking at this, probably one of my favorite 70s records. Oh, man. Really good. Really good. Really, really well put together album. There's only one album. Man. And I grew up with this album cover, man. My dad had this one. Oh, man. Such good childhood memories. This is the debut, Boston. And this is what I was talking about with this is the second time in history from my channel that this has ever happened. And it's unfortunate. My ranking the studio albums went in order that they were released. Which means, unfortunately, for Serj Tankian and Boston, they've progressively gotten worse with every album. Usually, I know a lot of people think that that's what happens with all rock bands. But usually what happens for me anyway, is it's kind of a mix. Say a rock band has, like Boston here, has 6 albums. It's usually a mixture of like, okay, I really like this newer one, but maybe this one in the middle was not so good. Of course, their debut was great, but then maybe a couple after it was even better. And unfortunately with Boston, it just seems to be going boo. And that's unfortunate. I really like them. Third Stage was great. Don't Look Back was great. Boston, the self-titled album, was great. But the stuff after it, Walk On, Corporate America, and Life, Love, and Hope. So, in my notes, Walk On was pretty bad. Corporate America was extremely bland to the point of being terrible. And Life, Love, and Hope, in my notes, says worst garbage ever. But let's get to the love. Let's get to some love, Life and Hope. For the debut, 1976, full decade, almost a decade before I was born. Not a full decade, mind you. This thing is great. Absolutely great. The legacy is it was, it sort of transformed the mainstream rock and roll from proto-metal to power pop, essentially. I am quoting Wikipedia there. More than a feeling, peace of mind, foreplay / long time. Rock and roll band, smoking, hitching a ride, something about you, let me take you home tonight. Whoa! This record is darn near perfect. I could maybe, if I had to go without one of these 8 tunes, maybe the last one, Let Me Take You Home Tonight. But there's 8 tracks here. They did not mess around. There's 8 perfect tracks here. Absolutely love it. And again, this is not probably an unpopular opinion. Maybe my ranking of the other albums might be unpopular. But I would say this is probably most people's favorite Boston record. And I'm for once, I'm in the majority. What can I say? I think this happened with, this has only happened with Guns N' Roses, where I picked their famous album for my favorite. So I'm usually the weird guy with weird taste. But this has been Ranking the Studio Albums by Boston. You guys have a good night out there in Boston.